Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a lovely August 5th here in suburban Chicago. The sun is shining, the grass is green, the air and the palm trees sway. Oh, there's no palm trees. Curses. No, it's mostly deciduous here in the Midwest, which they call the Midwest even though it's clearly the central part of the country, but they named it that back when most of the country was in the east, so this was the Middle West. Okay. Today, it is, like I said, August 5th, but the last couple episodes I've been doing the top games for mechanisms business, and I haven't shared my recent plays with you. So it is time for Top of the Stack. Top of the Stack is my monthly update of what I've been playing, what I plan to play, how I'm doing on the many weird challenges I've set for myself over the course of this year for gameplay, and so on. Basically a chance to just talk all games, no commentary. And I hope that you will head over to BoardGameGeek.com, Guild 3269, and let me know what you've been playing. Where have you succeeded? Where have you come up short in your efforts to do your best work playing games, or just enjoy games, enjoy this hobby that we share. So here are my stats. I start with final monthly stats for July. I had 76 gameplays last month, which is a healthy number, of course. 44 different games total, so many of those were 2 or 3 times per game. My year total is 495 plays of 168 different games. I had 7 playtests of my own games last month and 2 playtests of other people's games. My design partner Rob and I participated in Protospiel Online, got to play a couple interesting games and get some feedback on one of ours. We also did a couple playtests of a couple games we have coming out from XYZ Game Labs in the next couple years. So keep your eye on that. I'm sure that I will be all braggity brag about that when the time comes. If you are interested in seeing those playtests, XYZ Game Labs has taken the content they made for Gen Con Online and put it on their Twitch channel, and I think it'll be rolled over onto their YouTube channel, so you can seek them out if you want to see that material. You also could see the game show that Rob and I ran called Game Fight Show. We did 2 episodes, one on Thursday and one on Sunday. Those should both be available for viewing as well. Do check them out. They're pretty entertaining if I have any say about it, and I do because you're listening. All right, my shelf of opportunity. I'm afraid it climbed rather than being reduced in July. It climbed to 38. There were a couple games I just couldn't keep my mitts off of, and so it went up. Actually, they're both pretty forgivable purchases, I think. Although I did get a couple games and play them right away, so maybe that's not the best. But I had 2 games come in the last week of July, and so I haven't had a chance to play them yet. But I've been pretty aggressive about playing new games when we get them, so that the shelf of opportunity isn't growing, at least. Collection size reduced? Nope. It started at 369 at the beginning of the year. It's up to 378 now, and I blame this on not being able to sell games, but I really could start selling games now, so I should do that. I'm going to make a vow to you here, listeners. I will have posted and sold a bunch of games, or a few games, or I will have posted to try to sell some games before next time we chat. Final monthly stat, most played game this month, Arkham Horror, the card game. As you know, my wife and I will occasionally dive into one of the campaigns for Arkham Horror, and when we do, we usually play a couple times a week. So we're in the middle of the Dunwich Legacy, the Circle Undone campaign right now, and that is going swimmingly. And my most played game online was Through the Ages with 2 plays. As I've mentioned before, I always have games going online, and I only count them as played when they finish. So I have a bunch of different games going. So just depending on when they finish might determine that. Top of the stack. As you recall, June was a colossal failure for top of the stack. I was 0 for 3. And remember, I always put 4 on. I put a bonus reattempt. So I was really 0 for 4 in June. So I decided to re-up all 4 games into July. And I played one of them. I got to play Robinson Crusoe. And while it was interesting, man, the rules overhead is just really intense. And ultimately, I don't like using dice to resolve the adventures. I think the need to roll after you've done all this work of planning and then maybe get a bunch of injuries and draw something bad, it just outweighs the fun of the system for me. It's too complicated and too hard. I did enjoy my play of it, but I don't see myself giving enough time to get it to the table enough to really play out the system, which means it's got to go. So, Robinson Crusoe will be one of those games in the sale pile. I did not get a chance to play Founders of Gloomhaven, nor the 2000 Buffy the Vampire Slayer game, nor Queen's Architect. So 1 out of 3 is my result in July for the games that I also had on there in June. So that was a real bummer. I will, this month, use some different games and hopefully get a better chance at completing them. All right, so that was top of the stack. So new plays this month. I had 4 new games that I tried this month. They are Turn in Taxis, which I did mention in a previous episode, and Downforce, which I mentioned in a previous episode, and On Mars, which I mentioned in a previous episode. All 3 of those were really good. On Mars was amazing, and I hope I get a chance to play it again soon. Looks like later this morning, making the last use of my unscheduled time before work really starts, I think I'm going to play Tricarion with a friend today. But there was talk of returning to On Mars again. But I think we wanted to get Tricarion played this summer as well. And then the one new game that I played that I have talked about a little bit on here was Santa Monica. Santa Monica is a game where you are building a beachside resort. You're adding to the beach, you're adding to the boardwalk, and it's a set collection point game. It's definitely on the lighter end of things. But there's enough rules overhead that it was a little bit of a bother for my mom to pick up. She did play it just fine, and she did very well. So it's definitely in the realm of learnable for people who are, I would call my mom a relatively light gamer. She has played a lot of games, but she has trouble remembering them, in part because we only see her, once every 6 weeks, and we often don't play the same game we played last time. So for her, she's basically always learning new games when we play with her. And what a sport she is to do that. But Santa Monica is a lovely little game. I would say it's not super deep, but it is a great chit-chat game. Like, you set it on the table, chit-chat with your friends, because there's not a lot to do when it's not your turn. I mean, you can look at the cards, but since 25% of the available cards are taken every round, if your turn is 2 turns away, half the cards will be different when it's your turn. And you can kind of see what's coming, but it's really hard to plan. So I generally think it's a good chatting game because you don't have much time to do anything else. So that's Santa Monica. So that makes 59 new games I've tried this year, and which seems like a good spread to me. Okay, so expansion plays this month. I didn't have a huge collection of expansion plays get played this month. The only one that I got to try was, I had noticed that Plan B Games announced that the 3rd in the Golem in the Century Golem series was coming out this fall, and they announced that they would be going directly to retail instead of selling it through their website first. So I did order it through my retail store, and then I noticed that Plan B was selling the promo cards for Century Golem Edition on their website, so I bought those. So I got 6 promo cards, which I've mixed into the deck, and we played with those once. It was fun. They were interesting, add a little bit of variety to the game. So my Out of the Dust plays, I had 2 this month, both on Board Game Arena. with a friend I haven't seen in a while. So we were looking for stuff that we could play. I could teach relatively easily, and we could play and still chit-chat a bit, because we hadn't, because most of the point of us hanging out was to chit-chat. So we wanted to be able to do that. So the two games were Tokaido, the game of taking a gentle stroll through the Japanese countryside, and Can't Stop, a push-your-luck game about rolling dice. Both were fine. The kind of game that if someone says, hey, you want to play that? I'll say, sure. But if it says, hey, you want to buy that? I'll say, no, thank you. In fact, I used to have Tokaido. I bought it for $10 during one of the clearance sales at one of the big stores like Mini Market. Actually, I think I got it on Amazon Prime Day a couple years ago. And it was fun to play a couple times, but not worth keeping. So that's 16 games so far this year that I've brought back out of the dust. Although it occurs to me, I did not put Robinson Crusoe on here. Definitely, I'm going to have to correct that. That's 17, because I definitely haven't played Robinson Crusoe in a year. It's been years. So I'm going to have to update that. Robinson Crusoe also. In previous years, I have set a 10 for 10 challenge. If you're not familiar with that idea, it's a way to challenge yourself to get a little bit deeper into games, particularly if you're somebody who, like me, flits like a like a mayfly from game to game, and you don't spend a lot of time exploring the depth of any game. So a 10 for 10 challenge is where you pick 10 games that you want to play 10 times each that year, and you give yourself some special focus to try to do that. What I found last year was that it does become kind of a chore if it turns out you don't really like that game. I find most games are really fun for 5, but 10 plays in a year if you're not super enjoying that game. 10 plays in a year if you're not super enjoying that game can be a bit much. So this year, my family and I decided to do a 20 by 5 instead of a 10 by 10. So we're still planning 100 plays. It's just that instead of planning 100 plays of a bunch of different games, we're planning instead of planning 100 plays of 10 games, we're planning 100 plays of 20, divided up into 5s instead. And last year, we were gangbusters out the door. I think I was at 60% by June, maybe 70% by June, and that slowed off a lot in the second half of the year. I'm afraid it's the opposite this year. I am at 39% as of the end of July, so not even halfway. And we're 7 months through the year. So it doesn't look good for completing it this year, but we'll give it a go. We have completed Everdell. We have 3 plays of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Nanty Narking and Tricarion. We have 4 plays of Oh My Goods. We completed Brass. And then we have a bunch of games where we have 2, 1, or 0. So I'll just tell you all those plays. We have 2 plays of Miskatonic School for Girls, 2 plays of Ex Libris, 0 plays of Roll for the Galaxy, which is not great, especially because my wife doesn't really like space games, so that's a game I have to play with my daughter. 2 plays of It's a Wonderful World, 2 plays of Orleans, 1 play of Lovelace and Babbage. We have 2 plays of Rattle Battle Grab the Loot, 1 play of The Adventurers, 0 plays of Stuffed Fables, 0 plays of The Final Flick Tier, 5 plays of Brass, I mentioned that already, 3 plays of Nanty Narking, 0 plays of Pulsar 2849, 1 of Elysium, 2 of Shakespeare, and 1 of The Bloody Inn. So quite a bit of plays to get going there in that challenge. So let's see, just doing the math quick. If I have 60 plays left to do, roughly, and I have 5 months to do it, I got to do 12 a month, which doesn't seem unreasonable. 12 a month breaks down to 3 a week. Ooh, that makes it sound hard. Well, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. I am also doing a personal 52 game challenge. The 52 game challenge is an ongoing geek list where they assemble a challenge based on a bunch of different prompts rather than the same prompt. And so I use that to guide some of my things. I've done 32 out of the 52 plays, so I'm doing okay on that one. Coming into this year, I had leftovers. I had, I think, 11 leftover games, a bunch of plays of Matainai, or 9. I had a bunch of plays of Matainai and a bunch of plays of Via Nebula. I finished off Matainai, but I still have 5 plays of Via Nebula to do. So my shelf of opportunity as you'll recall, the shelf of opportunity is the games that I own that haven't been played. I call it the shelf of opportunity instead of the shelf of shame because I am not ashamed that I haven't played these games. I see them as a cool thing I can do. And so keeping in mind what games I have available is a key part of what I'm doing. But I'm also trying to reduce that shelf as often as I can. As I mentioned, the 3 games I acquired in July, Santa Monica, Bob Ross, The Art of Chill, and The King's Armory. I don't know if I actually mentioned. I got Bob Ross, The Art of Chill for $2 at Goodwill. I have played it before, but it goes on my shelf of opportunity because I have to play the game after I buy it in order to get it off of there. And then The King's Armory was a gift from a friend. It is a 2015 Kickstarter game that is a tower defense game. It looks actually not that complicated, but its rule set is written like a 2015 Kickstarter, if you can imagine what that might be. So I'm puzzling my way through the rule set now. I think my son and I will give that a try. He likes tower defense games, so that seems like a good one for him. And then Bob Ross, The Art of Chill is a nice little set collection game that is not actually very chill. Because it's set collection and contract fulfillment, you're trying to grab finished paintings. Often you and someone else are going for the same painting, and if you get there first, then they scowl and curse your name. So it's actually not as chill as you'd think. And then I'm making good progress on my top 50 challenge, which is, you'll recall, where I say that I'm going to play all the games that are in my top 50 at least once in the 2 years before I do my top 50 again. So my top 50 games, so I need to play at least 25 of them this year, and I'm up to 19. Arkham Horror, the card game, and Altiplano were the games that I played that I hadn't played since I started the challenge. That one, of course, gets harder and harder because the games that I don't play as often are the ones that haven't been played. And so the later in the list that goes, the more I have to stretch to get a game played that I don't play for whatever reason. Which brings me to the top of the stack for August. Now, I will confess that I did not put that on my printout that I used to remind myself of all of these many stats and ideas. So I'm going to see what I can remember off the top of my head for the top of the stats. So one of the ideas is the audience choice. This is the game that has the most votes over on my top of the stack list. You can participate in helping me choose by going over there and thumbing one of them. At this point, I'm at the last game of the tied values. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer game and Teach You both have 4 votes. And the other game that has 4 votes is Jaws. So Jaws is the top of the stack this month. If somehow I don't get that played, then I cycle back and have to try for Teach You again. Actually, if I get Jaws played, then I have to try Teach You or Buffy. That's my commitment to you, is I will try to get one of those top voted games played. The reattempt is one where it's been on the top 50 list before, and I am trying again to take a go at it. What did I put on there this month? So the audience choice this month is Jaws, which looks to be a great little cooperative game. The challenge there is that my daughter has not seen Jaws, and normally it would be my wife, my daughter, and I to play it. And she doesn't really want to watch Jaws because she likes swimming in the ocean and she's afraid it'll make her afraid of sharks, which frankly I think is a reasonable fear, even though it's an old creaky movie. My new game that I want to try is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, The Baker Street Irregulars. This is the 4th expansion to Sherlock Holmes, and it just came out. I picked it up on August 1st, and that one I'm really not worried about getting played. That should be pretty easy. The Revisit is a game called Sea of Clouds, which is honestly, I don't even remember it. We got it a long time ago as a gift. I played it once. I remember thinking it was fun. And then it just went back on the shelf and we never touched it again. So the Revisit is my chance to go back to a game I haven't played in a long time and decide whether it's worth keeping in the collection. And then finally my reattempt is the Sid Saxon classic Acquire. This is what a lot of people say is a good response to Monopoly. When people say what's a good game that I should play like Monopoly, people will say Acquire. So I'm going to check it out. I found an old Avalon Hill edition. Or an old edition, I don't know if it's Avalon Hill, but it's from the 70s and it looks hilarious. So we're going to give that a try. I'm sure the economics of the game will be funny in itself. So that's the top of my stack this month. Well, I hope that's been entertaining for you. Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and let me know what you are planning to play this month. What have you been playing? How are you doing on any of your personal challenges? And let me know. All right, thanks for joining me. Look forward to next time we talk. Until then, I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.